Hey, it's Scott Bertram, and I want to tell you about something new from Hillsdale College. It's the Hillsdale College Podcast Network. Check it out right now. Go to podcast.hillsdale.edu. The Hillsdale College Podcast Network offers free nationwide access to all of Hillsdale's podcast content. That means shows like the Hillsdale Dialogues, the Radio Free Hillsdale Hour, the Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education Podcast, the Larry P. Arn Show, and now, new, the Imprimis Podcast. You can listen wherever you are and whenever you want, and it's always free. Find out more about all of our shows at podcast.hillsdale.edu. You can subscribe to any program with new episodes delivered right to your device. Or sign up for the super feed. That means you get access to absolutely everything posted on the site. If you want to come close to stepping inside a Hillsdale College classroom, well, the Hillsdale College Podcast Network is for you. Get informed and get entertained at podcast.hillsdale.edu. That's podcast.hillsdale.edu.
Hello everyone and welcome to Beyond the Bubble, a Hillsdale College Career Services production where we take you outside the classroom and into the professional arena to bring you special tips and tricks from recent alumni in all areas of practice. This show is part of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network. More episodes at podcast.hillsdale.edu or wherever you find your audio. I'm Lauren Scott, and joining me today is Candace Corrales from Hillsdale's class of 2016. Thank you so much for joining us today, Candace.
Thank you so much for having me, Lauren.
Tell me about your different positions with Electronic Arts. What is this company, and what positions have you held with them?
Sure, yeah. So I started at EA in 2017. EA is a games publisher. They have a lot of different studios that they own and that also that they work with, like EA Partners program. So a lot of people know of like Madden and FIFA and Apex Legends. Those are all like franchises that and like studios that that EA publishes. And I started working with them as a strategic operations specialist in mobile publishing, which is kind of it was a very junior entry-level position, which was great, but I got on a great team. I learned a lot about operations, how mobile publishing works. So I worked with all of our mobile game teams and studios who were still like in live service, which means that they were still producing updates and new content on the regular for the players. And we would sift through all of those updates and say, oh, this is a really interesting one. There's like a big event happening in game, and then we would tell Apple and Google about that event and get them placement on the App Store, so it would increase the likelihood that they would get downloads and stuff like that. After doing that for a little bit, EA went through a reorg, which is not uncommon in the gaming industry, and I moved into franchise operations, which was very similar to what I was doing with strategic operations. However, it was a lot more operations focused, and it wasn't as fun, in my opinion. So I moved out of that role and into program management for esports, which was very exciting and very challenging. And I ended up moving up through program management on that team. I started right before the pandemic in 2020 and then moved up through the ranks and ended up leading the program management team within that department for Apex Legends Esports, which was super fun and a lot of work and definitely the most challenging job I've ever had.
So tell me what a day in the life looks like as a program manager.
For sure. It is a lot of stakeholder management and like people managing in the regard that like you work with a lot of different internal teams with like marketing and brand, with security, for instance, if we're doing live events with server, engineers and stuff like that, as well as like PR and just every team under legal. I worked so closely with legal and finance in my time as a program manager, and the broadcast team as well, to create like these really exciting broadcasts that would be on Twitch and YouTube and everything. So it's a lot of stakeholder management, keeping people on track and on task. It's knowing everything that's going on, and a lot of meetings, unfortunately, but we managed to cut those down a little bit in my time there. So that's like the day-to-day stuff. Oh, and a lot of project management, but that kind of goes without saying. So you have to be really, really organized and great at communication if you want to succeed in program management.
How did you know that this was the type of work that you wanted to pursue? Was this something that you kind of knew early in your career, or was it something that you decided when you were a student?
So I guess it started really early with me. When I was 8 years old, my cousin gave me Pokemon Blue version. It was my first video game for Game Boy Color, and I loved it. And I just developed this great love of games throughout my life. And then I never really thought it was something I could do, because like I really didn't have a brain for like coding and engineering and that kind of stuff. And I also am not a talented artist. And then I was playing League of Legends while I was actually in college with a bunch of friends, and I realized, wait, there's a lot more that goes into this than just like art and like programming. And I looked into it and found like that it's like, there are a lot of different careers in it. So it was something I could totally pursue. And so I was really lucky. I networked like crazy and was able to get a job at EA, and then working in mobile publishing and operations. It was fun for a while, but I felt like I kind of hit my cap there and was looking for something new. And I always, especially in college and even after college, I loved watching like the LCS and like summer splits for League of Legends, and like I really loved Riot's Esports. And I was really excited when an opportunity to get involved in esports, especially on a game like Apex Legends, which is like EA's it was EA's highest growing game. At least it is at the time of this recording. So that was really exciting opportunity, and I knew I had to get involved. And I've always been a very organized person, and I talk a lot. So it was great being able to get into a role that allowed me to kind of leverage my people skills as well as my my project management and organizational skills as well.
What jobs or positions did you hold before you went to EA? And do you think that you learned any skills there that you use now in your current position?
Yeah, so when I first graduated from college, I got a job working as a marketing assistant for a nonprofit that has recently rebranded a couple times. I don't actually know what they're called anymore. But it was a terrible experience. I learned how to set boundaries there because my manager at the time was kind of, making me do work for all these other departments, and I ended up doing work that she should have been doing as well as my own work, and it was really overwhelming, and my efforts went very unappreciated, and I found myself getting burned out from my first job within a couple months of working there. And granted, I was making pennies. I was actually losing money driving to the office every day. So it was just a bad situation overall, but I really learned how to set boundaries, which is extremely important when you're in the workforce, especially being a woman. And so that was definitely really challenging, but a good learning experience. And then I ended up leaving that job because it was terrible, and got a job at a temp agency just while I figured out my next moves, and got a job through them as a receptionist for a staging and productions company. And there I learned a lot of like vendor management, stakeholder management, customer service type things, and it really taught me how to present myself in difficult situations as well as represent the company in a really positive, polished way. Which has been immeasurably helpful in all of my other roles, because I've always been in roles where I'm interacting with other people, and being able to listen and have insight and read between the lines of what people are often saying to you in order to figure out exactly what they need and want, which often in some situations can be different from what they're actually saying sometimes. And then being able to stay calm under pressure and, fulfill those needs that they have in a respectful manner. And even if it's sometimes setting a boundary of like, no, that's not going to be possible, but how do you say that in a way where they don't feel hurt or blow up at you or get frustrated? So that was definitely another great learning experience.
For alumni or current students who are interested in a career such as yours, should they be looking for any certain internships or job opportunities?
Yes, I highly recommend searching for internships while you're in college. I believe I've seen some start as early as for sophomore year. So definitely look early, look throughout. I know they can be highly competitive. We actually recently just hired on an intern who I believe is starting in May to the Apex Legends Esports team, which is very exciting. So opportunities are out there. My biggest piece of advice is make sure it's paid, because unpaid internships are generally not great, obviously. I myself wasn't able to actually get any internships while I was in college, because I needed to work 2 jobs or more every summer in order to pay for college. So, and at the time, there really weren't very many paid internships, especially not in the industries that I was looking at the time. And the ones that were had thousands upon thousands of applicants, upon them being posted. So chances were just very slim.
As a marketing and business major, are there any professors you would recommend or any classes that you took that you really enjoyed?
Oh, goodness. There were quite a few. There was a marketing research project that we did in Professor King's marketing course, one of her courses. I don't remember which one it was, but the marketing research project was really, really helpful in understanding how businesses work and how to best leverage market trends to actually grow the business. Additionally, there was a leadership course I took my senior year, really eye-opening for me, and it's helped to make me a really strong leader in my industry, which is honestly so incredible. Additionally, Dr. Johnson, I took one of his classes also my senior year, and we had to write a research paper with as a group project, and I wrote it with 2 or 3 other people, and we ended up writing a 45-page research paper on VR and the future of the video games industry, and that helped me a lot in preparing for interviews, because I was able to speak intelligently on the subject and have relevant information that really impressed the people who interviewed me.
While you were a Hillsdale student, what were you involved in, and do you think that these involvements have any impact on your career?
As a student, I was involved in the Ballroom Dance Club. I was the VP of events, and that was actually really, really helpful for my career, because part of my career ended up including a lot of event planning and event management, and learning kind of on the go about that through Ballroom was really, really, really helpful. I was also part of the Swing Dancing Club, which was just great for staying in shape, and I highly recommend that after you guys graduate and get jobs, and if they're desk jobs, make sure that you make time for movement, because that's just really important and will help you perform at your best. And I was also involved in SAI. I don't think I actually held any leadership positions there, but being involved in a music fraternity was really helpful, because music helps keep your brain active and involved, and it's something that I still sing today and have done a couple of like for fun performances for charities and whatnot locally. So that's been fun. As part of SAI, I also had the immense pleasure and honor of mentoring a lot of younger members, and that was really not only just rewarding but also really helpful in developing leadership skills. I also was a Hillsdale student body mentor, or I don't remember what it was called, but I essentially like mentored a couple of like freshmen like while I was an upperclassman, and that was also really great for developing those skills. So if you have the chance and the interest in getting to mentor someone, you definitely should, because it comes in really handy if you ever become a people manager in your career.
How was the transition from being a Hillsdale student to going into a world where you have a career of your own? Is there anything you would have done differently, or is there something you did that was really helpful that you would want to tell other students?
Definitely. If you know what you want career-wise in college, start pursuing it. Start clubs at the school to like support those interests, because you can put that on your resume and you'll already have some relevant experience to the industry that you're going into. Additionally, if you're not sure what you want, seek out a mentor. Go on LinkedIn and find people in the industry who seem like they're active on LinkedIn. Join communities. Like, for instance, I joined like the Riot Games careers community my senior year, and I wish I'd started earlier and started networking on there and met people so do that and find a mentor or someone who you can talk to about it, who can help you find networking opportunities. And also network like crazy. That's how I got my job. I don't think I would have been able to break into the industry as easily, because it's very, very difficult to break into the gaming industry if I hadn't networked. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice, is network like crazy, because your career probably will depend on it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Candace.
Thank you so much for having me, Lauren.
You have been listening to Beyond the Bubble, a podcast by Hillsdale College Career Services. This show is part of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network. More episodes at podcast.hillsdale.edu or wherever you find your audio. I'm Lauren Scott, and have a blessed day.